Welcome to week 6 of Think and Grow Rich, our third week of crystallizing your desire through action with life mastery consultant Christi Corradi.
Okay, hello and welcome. This is Christi Corradi. Right now we're going to just move into and continue to generate our gratitudes and proud of, the things that we have accomplished that we are proud of. And so just move right now into a place of gratitude. Just to set the tone, I'll share my gratitude, yes, we have many, but I am just so grateful for my coach, Kirsten, for the work that I am in and that we do, and that, oh my gosh, it's such deep and profound work. And I just want everybody to get this. So I'm really grateful that at least I'm here with you guys and to share this with you. So feel your own gratitude, write that down. And then something that you've accomplished that you are proud of. And I am proud that I took the next step in my project and actually reached out to Mary and had a conversation with her, and she told me she's on my team. And so I'm very proud of myself for taking the steps and taking the steps from a very deliberate vibrational frequency. So think of your own gratitudes and proud ofs, and really think about the web, the warp and the weft that we create in the weaving of being at choice, consciously choosing to be in this work, to understand these principles, to take this deep dive into applying them in our lives. And then they go out and touch everyone else. It's like I said at the beginning of the call, this work is so amazing. I want everyone to get it. So, oh my gosh, I have so many notes. I feel this is just a moment. This is the moment. So first of all, let's go into some content, and then we'll go to the workbook. The language of this book, Think and Grow Rich, and this workbook that we're working out of, is kind of archaic language, but if we decipher it, I've just been looking at everything this last week from a vibrational standpoint, and one way to think of how to do that is to think of the rainbow. It's a spectrum of color, and each one of those colors are actually a different vibrational frequency. And we have the infrared versus the blue. All of those are vibrations, and this work is actually what scientists now are proving. So this is like the marriage of the 5,000-year-old ancient knowing in history, like from China and other places, and now merging it with what science is discovering and understanding, that there is actually within us, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I'm just so excited that we have the ability to move molecules. Let's just call it that. We have the ability to create through the power of our minds. And this isn't like just language. This is not just words. This is truth if we really can get inside of this and be in this. And as I've said before, this work is rigorous. We have to stay constantly in paying attention. And as soon as we notice that we are in low vibration frequency, to shift that and to change that. And Michael Beckwith said one time, we don't have the luxury of letting anything other than what we're holding in our vision into our thought. And that's the good news. Okay, so let me get back to my notes here. Whatever we can conceive, we can achieve. And that's exactly for this reason. Desire, that energy of desire, feel desire, not longing, not wishing, but pulsating desire. And if you feel that in your body right now, and feel that place, Even go back and visit a time that you felt that and knew that, to hold that as a vibrational frequency to match whenever you notice that your thinking is being turned down by the status quo. We need to ask ourselves in every moment, what is the status quo thinking going on here right now? I mean, we're not even paying attention to most of our thoughts. They say that 90% of our thoughts are recycled thoughts. Why do we want to do that? We want to have new thoughts, and we want to have thoughts that are our thoughts and thoughts that we create by our own volition, our own choice. We need to be asking ourselves every moment, am I just buying into the status quo here? Is this my belief, my truth, my knowing? Or did I pick that up from my childhood or the news or the sources outside of me? And this was what it means to move from our thoughts having us to us having our thoughts. We want to have our thoughts. We don't want them to have us. But we're not even aware in the moment that actually that thought, unless we're really, really, really paying attention, that that thought might be a status quo thought, a thought that's given to us, a thought that we're convinced of. And our history is just that. It's also, when we let our history control us, the only thing our history should be good for is to learn from it and move on. And we need to leave it in the past. So our desire, just kind of like I have this roadmap of thoughts here, and I just a lot of energy around this, a really deep dive this week for myself into this work. And part of it was, as I mentioned, I am doing this work right along with you. And what does it say? It says, come up with a plan. Okay, well, I took steps in the direction. I had not really written my plan around this project that I'm working on right now. But thank goodness I have a good mentor and teacher. And I ended up talking to Mary 2 days ago, and she said, I want to be on your team and be your word crafter and help you with presentation, because it's really important to get that out in the world. But I need to see your plan. And I went, oh my gosh, there is no mistake. We're right on track. We are in this work. And you know what? I'm going to tell you a secret here. Yesterday was the day after my birthday, and I had planned to kind of take the day off. Not my birthday, because it was a different day. And I actually did not get out of my pajamas the whole day yesterday. And I stayed in a space and a place. It was almost like I kind of locked myself in just on purpose so I couldn't get distracted or dissuaded to do something else. And I sat down and I wrote out my plan, and I sent it to her. And we're going to be talking about this. So it's like, are you taking the actions? Are you really doing this? Oh, I've got so much great material, but I'm actually going to jump to the book right now. Page 71. And what we're going to talk about today is about another tool. So we've used these questions and turned them around a little bit to use them to help us create that action that it takes to connect the circuit that allows things to come into reality. And I'm going to talk about the formula for that in a minute again. But there's 28 questions you should answer. And this is this week's homework. I'm going to get on to more teaching, but I just want to bring this up right now. But these are questions that you should really ask yourself about the last year. And those of you that have been in the program will probably be able to say, yes, because I've been in this work, because I'm being moved in the direction of my dream and vision. But what I want you to do with this inventory is I want you to turn, it says, have I attained the goal which I established as my objective for this year? I want you to change these into affirmations, and I want you to use them to help you develop a plan. This year, I will obtain my goal, which the objective is, kind of just turn this around. I have delivered services of the best possible quality of which I was capable, or could I have improved any part of this service? Then it is, how can I improve? How can I provide the best possible quality this coming year? How can I improve my service? Have I delivered service in the greatest possible quantity, which I was capable? Now I want you to set how much you're going to deliver. Okay, and there's some really good ones down here that will really get you thinking about what your next upcoming year is going to be and how you're going to do it. And the other thing that you're going to work on this week is your assets list. Okay, and this is similar to this, and you might want to do it in tandem. And some of you have done this, and so you want to pull out your old asset list and you want to add to it. Assets are your college degrees, your personality, the things you have done in the world, the way you are, anything that is an asset, forward-moving impulse energy that's moving forward, right? Not the things that you didn't do. Okay, you want to leave those out. And then you also want to list the people that are on your team. They don't have to know they're on your team. This is like creating a vibrational, energetic field that as you move forward each and every day and you have this asset list, this list of people, and now this new inventory of yourself, but turning it towards your next becoming, then you have created an amazing vibrational map in which the universe has to say yes to, as long as you continue to move in the vibrational frequency and return there over and over and over again. So the technology of this work, and they've actually discovered this going back to looking at Sanskrit and also in any of the ancient traditions, and they found that the technology is the same. And that technology that our thoughts into emotion or feeling create or cause us to move into action, and that action's our result. You know, we've talked about this before, the chair we're sitting on. Someone had the thought. They said, of course I'm sitting in a purple office chair, right? So somebody thought, I'm going to make a purple office chair because I know there's a person out there, many people out there that are going to go, oh, I would love to have a purple office chair. And that emotion that I just talked from, oh, I know somebody's out, that's the emotion. That's the thing that moves them into action. I'm going to do that. I'm going to cause that result. And this is the formula, and this is what they have discovered through science. Now, this is proven in science, that thought is the image of the quantum possibility. Okay, and there are many, 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 many versions of thought. I had to call in my coach this week. I had some boogeyman thing. Actually, I think it was Delilah thinking. I was being seduced by my conditions and circumstances. So I called on my coach, and she is like, really, you want to go down that path after all the work that you've done? You know this? And I just kind of needed to, like, bring me back to realizing that I don't have the luxury to think other than a high vibration thought. And this is what I did in this situation, is that I went back and looked at a time that I thought I was failing, because that's what a little bit what it was feeling like this week, like I was failing, and that actually it was a great gift. And so I went back and looked at an experience that I had of that could really propel me into a really higher vibration of knowing that what I'm in right now is what it looks like as I am becoming. While everything is rushing in to meet that vibrational match that I keep myself in. Okay, and it's the average, right? When I dropped down there, you know, my son got one really bad grade in a bunch of hundreds. Well, that bad grade just pulled it down so exponentially. And that's exactly what it is with this. We have to continually stay in the vibrational thought. So here's my story as a teaching story so that you can see how you take failure and actually then create a vibrational match of knowing that this is just where you're at right now. This is not failure. Like Edison said, he did not fail, what was it, 100 times or 1,000 times on making the light bulb. They were all just information. So when Jerry and I met, one of our common dreams was to build a youth camp. And, of course, in many ways we actually ended up doing that. But we went off to Oregon and actually secured a $1.2 million guaranteed federal loan. And we had a chunk of our own money that we were going to build a retreat facility in Oregon. And I could tell you the story. It could take up all our time, but it failed. And then it failed again, and it failed again. And finally I said, this is just not it. And we even tried living in the area for a couple of years, and Jerry couldn't find work the whole time. And I tried starting a business with my brother. Not a good idea. And finally we hightailed it out of there. And physically, my body was not well. And one day I was reading my email, and I've known Ricky Byers-Beckwith since before she was Ricky Byers-Beckwith. She was Ricky Byers. I knew him before he was a minister, and then I knew Ricky as soon as she came in as one of his musicians many years ago. And yet I had lost track of her. Now, I'd also, while I was living in Oregon, I was going to Mary's church at the time, and her church collapsed. And that's a story I think all of you know. And so when we moved back to California, I didn't know where she was. I was kind of out of touch with all these things. And out of the blue, I get this email from Ricky that says, Mary Morrissey and I are doing our 17th annual women's retreat. I'm like, really? They've been doing these retreats together for 17 years? Where was I in all of that? But it was perfect timing, and then my healing story from that and moving on. And I think to this day, if I would be entrenched in a retreat facility in Oregon, as lovely as many aspects of that would be, I don't think I would have reconnected with Mary and taken this deep dive into this work. I've been a practitioner, I've been a therapist, all of these things. But understanding the invisible powers that are in existence and that we can use them in our everyday life is the most powerful work that I've ever dived into. Here's a great, amazing story that I heard. I was listening to Greg Brandon, and he's one of the forefathers of this whole quantum physics and understanding the idea of our thoughts creating our experiences. And first of all, he said there's two wrong assumptions that science made for many, many years, and that 10 years ago or so really things started turning around in the science arena, and that was that we believed that space was empty. That what we call space is empty. And what the truth is that it's not empty. It's actually filled with lots of stuff. We just don't see it. And that's because of its vibration. Get it? It's vibration, right? And so the second assumption that was wrong is that things in our bodies influence the outside world. And it actually affects the empty, quote-unquote, space. And I've mentioned to many of you about a video you can find. It's actually from What the Bleep, I think it is, or something like that. But if you go to Dr. Quantum and look at the Observer or something like that, put that in Google, there's a kid cartoon there that really shows how the observer, like us thinking a thought, actually shifts the way that it's even more than molecules, but molecules get moved by a result of the particles, the quarks, the strings getting changed in their vibration through us observing something. So how do we want to observe something? This is our choice. And we can say all the affirmations we want in the world, but unless we do it with conviction and from a place of that vibrational field, that vibrational frequency, nothing will change. Because what's the real predominant thought is disbelief, or what it always comes down to is our self-image. And that's why in this work we do a lot of work around really knowing the truth of who we are and aligning ourselves and having every one of our thoughts be in alignment with what it is that we want in our lives to give our gift in the world. And that's why you read your vision. In fact, in the Think and Grow Rich, it says read your vision aloud 2 times a day, out loud, 2 times a day. What can you do in each and every moment to move the vibrational frequency? Why do we use the vision? Because it's a forward-moving document. It's a forward-moving thought. It can be more expanded than our vision. So part of the other amazing story that this guy, Greg Brandon, tells is actually about having gone to Beijing and seeing these 3 practitioners This was with a woman with a cancerous tumor, and they did not judge the tumor. They just chose to vibrate at a different frequency. And the three of them vibrated at a different frequency, and the tumor within 3 minutes dissipated. Now, all of us in our mind go, why don't we get this? Then why aren't we doing this? The status quo, when he went back and told scientists about that, they said, great, as soon as we get a cure for cancer, we'll go observe that. Because they're so convinced that we live in a condition-based life. We only live in a condition-based world if we choose that condition, those conditions. My colleague and friend Judy Matejcek put out this really fun video up on Facebook where she was driving along and videotaping herself, but she was telling the story of having gotten a flat tire and pulled over to the side of the road and just, gently called the tow truck, and the tow truck's coming, and she's just happy, and she said 5 people pulled over to ask her for help. And not only that, like the last person that pulls up goes, hey, Judy, and it was someone she hadn't seen for a long time, and she stood on the side of the road chatting, catching up with this person on the side of the road. And what she said was, if I would have been all pissed off, I know nobody would have stopped. What vibration are we putting out there each and every moment? We are conditioned to feel the things we fear. We need to stop it. That's what my coach says to me all the time. Stop it. You don't want to think that. Stop it. Just stop it. So I'm going to come back to the thought and the emotion. And when we have our thoughts, and they are kind of in our head, and when we move them to emotion, it's almost like our lower third, some people call them chakras or energy place or whatever, that's where a lot of our emotion happens. And when we allow our emotion, that enthusiasm, ethos means God within. And so when we generate enthusiasm from that lower part of us, and then our thoughts come into our body and they merge, it's the emotion. It's actually the feeling that they have discovered in science that changes that empty space. Whatever's living, moving in that empty space. It's the feeling. So what are you feeling each and every moment? And the feeling is the prayer. I hope you got to see that video of Maya Angelou. Oh my gosh, her moment of just embodying, feeling that she is so privileged to be the outpicturing of the beloved. The beloved loves her enough to outpicture her enough. I hope you watch that because my words are not going to do that. But the feeling is the prayer. So this guy, Greg Brandon, visited many places, and he was with some group of people that were doing chimes and mantras and mudras and bells and blah, blah, blah. And he said, how does this work? And he said, those are the things that get inside of us and just move us to a vibrational place. So each one of you want to be in a vibrational place. And we need to put action to all of this. So I'm going to give you 6 steps here that this whole workbook is about. The work that we're doing this month is, number 1, be specific. Number 2, give something in return for what you get. Number 3, set a date. Calendarize. Don't just say, oh, someday. Make a plan, and every day take a step. This little thing that I called Kirsten about, it's just a little hiccup with Jerry and I and some things out there. And we have set our vision, the remedy for this, if you will, to happen at the end of 2015. That or something greater or sooner. And every day, that's a long way down the road, but every day he and I wake up in the morning and we say, what step are you going to take? What step am I going to take today to move in that? And we make a commitment to each other. And we take a step every day, many steps, but we take at least one step in the direction of this dream. What step are you going to take today? So that's make a plan, take a step every day, have a vision, that vibrational frequency to move toward, like your destination in your GPS system. And then, as I mentioned, read it aloud 2 times a day. And the closer you can get to reading it as if it's happening in this moment, the more vibrational match you will create. Woo!
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Here are 2 exclusive podcast listener offers. First, for a limited time, podcast listeners can work with Christi in person at a deep discount. Christi offers a unique coaching modality of her own creation that helps clients discover their own answers to where they're stuck and how to move forward. As one of her clients puts it always works. This transformative process is designed to help you identify blocks and create breakthroughs in your personal and professional life. As a thank you for listening to the podcast, you're eligible for a special discount. Normally $97 for a half-hour introductory session, podcast listeners get a $70 discount automatically applied if you use this link, masteringtheartoflife.com/podcast-IWD-offer. That's masteringtheartoflife.com/podcast-IWD-offer. And that link is in the podcast general description as well. Second, you can get the entire library of Mastering the Art of Life with PDF notes and worksheets for each lesson, plus bonuses at no cost at masteringtheartoflife.com/9-month opt-in, all one word, masteringtheartoflife.com/9-month opt-in. That link is also in the general podcast description.